Walls of Jericho. Here's a detailed video focusing on the Walls of Jericho, a significant event in the Bible that illustrates faith, obedience, and divine intervention. Welcome back to your channel, Christ Loves You Forever. In today's video, we will explore one of the most fascinating events in the Bible, the story of the Walls of Jericho. This remarkable account is found in the book of Joshua and illustrates the power of faith, obedience to God, and the miraculous nature of His interventions in our lives. Join me as we delve into the history, significance, and lessons from this incredible biblical event. The story of the Walls of Jericho has fascinated people for centuries. But what truly happened? Were these walls as impenetrable as they seemed? In the biblical tale, Joshua led the Israelites into battle against Jericho, a city fortified by massive walls. For 6 days they marched around the city, and on the seventh day they blew their trumpets and shouted. The walls came tumbling down. But was this a miracle or a strategic military maneuver? Archaeological evidence suggests the walls may have been weakened by an earthquake. Some researchers even propose that the sound waves from the trumpets could have played a role in destabilizing the structure. Adding to the intrigue, many scholars debate the timeline and historical accuracy of the event. Did Jericho really fall as described, or has the story evolved over time? As we dig deeper into the mysteries of Jericho, we uncover layers of history and faith, challenging our perceptions of ancient texts. Part 1. Historical context and setting. Jericho, known as one of the oldest inhabited cities in the world, is located near the Jordan River in the West Bank. It played a crucial role in biblical history as the first city the Israelites encountered when entering the Promised Land after their exodus from Egypt. The city was well fortified, surrounded by massive walls designed to protect it from enemies. Archaeological evidence confirms that Jericho had a double wall system, with a lower wall and an upper wall that created a formidable barrier. After wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, the Israelites, led by Joshua, crossed the Jordan River and were poised to take possession of the land promised to them by God. Jericho stood as the first major obstacle in their path. Part 2. The biblical account of Jericho. God's instructions to Joshua. Joshua 6:1-5. In Joshua 6, God gives Joshua specific instructions on how to conquer Jericho. He tells Joshua that the city is given into their hands, but the strategy is unconventional. They are to march around the city. God commands the Israelites to march around Jericho once a day for 6 days, with the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant in front of them. On the seventh day, they are to march around the city 7 times, and the priests will blow trumpets. At the end of the 7th lap, the people are to shout, and the walls will fall down. The march around Jericho. Joshua 6:6-14. Joshua communicates God's plan to the people, and they obediently follow His instructions. The army of Israel, along with the priests, march silently around the city once each day for 6 days, demonstrating their faith and patience. The Ark of the Covenant, representing God's presence among His people, leads the procession. This emphasizes that their victory depends not on military strength, but on their obedience to God. The 7th day and the shout. Joshua 6:15-20. On the 7th day, the Israelites rise early and march around the city 7 times, as commanded. After completing the 7th lap, Joshua instructs the people to shout. As the trumpets sound and the people shout, the walls of Jericho miraculously collapse. The Israelites rush into the city, fulfilling God's promise and taking possession of Jericho. The aftermath and Rahab's deliverance. Joshua 6:21-25. The city is utterly destroyed, fulfilling God's judgment on the inhabitants for their wickedness. However, Rahab, the prostitute who hid the Israelite spies, and her family are spared due to her faith and actions. Rahab's story is powerful. She becomes an ancestor of Jesus, illustrating God's grace and inclusion of the marginalized in His plans. Part 3. Lessons and Significance. The story of Jericho emphasizes the importance of faith in God's promises and obedience to His commands, even when they may seem unconventional or illogical. The Israelites did not rely on conventional warfare. Instead, they trusted in God's strategy. The miraculous fall of the walls demonstrates God's sovereignty over all circumstances. It shows that no obstacle is too great for God to overcome when His people act in faith. The collective effort of the Israelites marching together teaches the value of community and unity in faith. Together, they experienced God's miraculous deliverance. Rahab's inclusion in the Israelite community highlights God's willingness to extend grace and redemption to those who believe in Him, regardless of their past. It serves as a reminder that God can use anyone for His purposes. Part 4. Conclusion and Reflection. The account of the Walls of Jericho is a powerful narrative that underscores faith, divine intervention, and the importance of obedience to God. It invites us to trust in God's plans, even when they seem unconventional. As we reflect on this story, consider the walls in your own life. What obstacles are you facing that seem insurmountable? How can you apply the lessons from Jericho by trusting in God and obeying His guidance? I encourage you to read Joshua 6 for yourself and meditate on the themes of faith and obedience. How can this story inspire you in your daily walk with God? If you found this exploration of the Walls of Jericho meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. I would love to hear your thoughts. What part of this story resonates with you the most? What lessons have you learned from the story of Jericho? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the Walls of Jericho. May you find strength and encouragement in your faith journey. Until next time, keep seeking truth and living boldly. God bless.